For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on your favorite podcast app. And if you found us by accident, sucks to be you. Hey, you know what? I don't even know really what is happening from minute to minute lately. A couple days ago, I didn't know what day it was. Do you remember when the weather forecast used to matter? Right? You had to figure out what you're going to wear to work. Right? Is it going to be warm out? Is it going to be raining? Is it going to be snowing? And now I can go almost all day without looking out the window. No, that's not true. I have to let the dogs out a couple of times, right? But otherwise, bring on the snow. I don't care. Bring on, it's whatever. So that's kind of the attitude that people have lately. Dare I say the C word? I think you know what I'm talking about, right? It's the COVID, it's the corona, it's the whatever you're calling it, right? This is how I feel like the attitude has changed since this whole thing started, right? At the beginning it was coronavirus, and then I think to sort of depict the seriousness of it, that's when we started calling it COVID-19, like it was like a James Bond kind of a thing. And so it is obviously serious. I'm certainly not trying to downplay it, but it's interesting to hear and see and read what people are going through. And Larry David is right. If you saw his PSA about the whole thing, that, basically you can stay home and watch TV all day. Like, you don't even have to wake up early anymore. You can sleep in, you can do it. Now, again, I get it that people are freaking out because they can't pay their bills and things like that. Absolutely, I get it. But if you're, some people who are going to be collecting unemployment, again, I realize that's minimal at best. But yeah, this is a time when you should be spending time with your kids. I feel, I'm sort of a homebody anyway, so for me it's not a huge deal. But this is the time, if you have that guilt of leaving your pet alone all day when you go to work, pets are on a perfect receiving end for this thing, right? I think mine are a little bit sort of like, are you going to leave? Because when I leave, this is the difference in my house, is that they get a whole bunch of treats stuffed into one of their toys, and then that keeps them busy for how long? So they have seen a decline in treat giving over the last little while. So I think that my dogs actually do want me to leave every now and then. But for parents, I'm fascinated by this whole thing where, you go on Facebook and people are complaining about, basically having to pay attention to their kids. And I wonder then if maybe this is giving people regrets and said, oh, I should have used a condom. Like, I don't know how to interpret it. You can pawn off your kids for how many hours a day onto the school system, but really at the end of the day, they're your responsibility. So I have no sympathy for the people who are like, already fed up. Maybe you should have, is the word trained your kids? Taught your kids better? Raised them better? Whatever the word is. Yeah, it's quite fascinating that parents are having to become parents all of a sudden. I talked with Dr. Phil the other day. Here I am name dropping. And I think that you're going to be hearing that interview. We ran it on the radio this week. I'm guessing we'll have it on the podcast soon enough, now that I'm going to look to my colleagues across the way. But, he said that parents aren't teachers. That's the thing, right? You can parent them in terms of, manners, crossing the street, different things like that. But absolutely, parents aren't going to all of a sudden break out the Shakespeare and start, teaching their kids that. Though I never understood why we had to learn Shakespeare in school. But yeah, to a point, Phil is right. Parents aren't teachers. Mine is. She's retiring. But this is this is a chance to like break away from the screen. Like you've heard everybody say that it's not social distancing, it's physical distancing and whatever. And it's great because I've also whipped out my video phone or my camera phone and had some great chats with people and reconnected with those who I haven't, even really spoken to in a long time. But this is your chance to like bond with your kids and have a good time and get creative and have a good time. But apparently it's taking its toll on a lot of parents. So, I'm not a parent, so I can sort of say that and not realize what it's like. But I understand too. I've got 2 dogs, so I know when they're kind of in my face and getting annoying. Sure. Just as I'm, when they're trying to sleep and I'm, doing something loud in the house, right? And they just want to be left alone. So, but yeah, I truly I have no sympathy for the parents because, then you shouldn't have had 4 kids then. If you're expecting that, 2/3 of your day you could have them preoccupied. So, half 1/3 of the day maybe at school, 1/3 of the day in, in sports or glued to their cell phone or whatever, and, you're in the clear. Well, think again. Now the realities of parenting are coming into play. Another thing that I want to go on. We were supposed to take a break. I wasn't supposed to launch into this rant just yet, but I'll keep going since I'm on a roll. The people who are complaining about being bored. Now I do want to make this or take this to a serious note for just a moment here, that people are using their mobile devices to bitch about being bored. I want you to take that step back. Dial it back just a little bit. And think about the people who do not have a cell phone. Think about the people that do not have a television. Think of the people that have so much less than you every single day. Think about that for just a minute. So you've run out of things to watch on Netflix. So you've run out of puzzles to build. So you've run out of recipes to try. You have a home that you were able to cook in. You have a home that you're able to watch that TV or your phone or whatever it is. So I don't have, and again, I'm a very low-key person. I'm a homebody. But think about those people who are less privileged than you. You are privileged. If you have a cell phone, you are privileged. If you have a home, you are privileged. And that's sort of what bothers me is, you have the people who, I get it. It's days and days and days and days on end, with and we can't even say with little human contact because, again, if you've got a phone that's got a camera, you can talk to people, you can do these kinds of things. But I have a large house. I have a big backyard that the dogs can, run around and play in. I have, a whole bunch of, so who am I to go and say that I'm bored and, this whole thing sucks and whatever. So I don't complain about it. I don't say those things. I'm a fortunate person. I'll be the first to say, hey, you know what? I've got money. I've got good health. I've got a great, I'm in media, so we're not off of work right now. If anything, we're actually, working harder than we ever have. So those people who mock the newspaper and radio industries, well, we're working and you're not. So, but certainly this is a time where, we hear that stupid phrase, we're all in this together, which I can't stand. Because essentially it's almost like every person for themselves is sort of how it feels depending on where you go and who is talking to you or talking at you in a sense. And so I think that, everybody and their woe is me parties where it's, your kids are annoying or you're bored at home and there's nothing to watch. Well, think about the people who have much less than you, and I think you'll shut your mouth. I hope you will. All right, we've got more coming up on the Scribble right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble, and I'm going to start this segment by saying I'm asking for a friend. And quite honestly, I am, because one, I'm married, and two, I've never been on a dating app before. So this really, I can't give insight into this. That's why I'm opening it up to you, my friends. Okay, here we go. So I'm having a chat with, she's actually a former colleague from back in the day, and I'll use the word friend now because we don't work together, we don't have any sort of business, professional relationship. And, you know, she's asking how life's going, how the dogs are, whatever. And I know that she has 2 kids. I know that she recently went through a breakup, and she's kind of just sort of getting back into the swing of things. And so she tells me that she is on a dating app. Now, here's the really interesting thing. She matched with somebody in her workplace. So she says there's a bit of awkwardness, and not because, you know, oh, if we get together and we break up and we still have to work together, not because of that, but because it seems like each is waiting for the other to make the first move. Here's what I'm talking about. So she happens to see this new guy in the across the way. They're not peers, they're not colleagues. They don't actually directly work with each other. But let's say, you know, they see each other in passing from across the building, and it's a big building. And so then she makes that connection of like, oh, okay, my match is a guy in the office. So bonus, because, you know, you can sort of ask around and find out what kind of a guy he is. So I guess there's that. But here's the thing, is that neither has messaged the other. So I guess I think I understand how these work. So it matches you, it puts you two together, and then I guess it's just up to whoever wants to say hi first. Neither has done that. So she's wondering, what is that telling me, meaning her, what is that telling me about his interest in me? She's wondering then, is he not upfront and not likely to take the reins and make the first move and say hello? But then, is there awkwardness because you work together, so maybe you don't have to message on there, you could just have a conversation then in person. So first of all, what are your thoughts on that? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Now, here's where it kind of, I don't want to say takes one step forward, I'd say maybe it takes a half step to the side. She then said that he added her on Facebook as a friend. So what do you make of that? So they've matched on an app, neither has messaged each other on the app. They haven't had like actual conversation in the office based on this match. But then he adds her to Facebook. Maybe, now that I speak it through, is that maybe his way of taking the first step, making the first move? Was he looked her up on Facebook and added her? I don't know. So there's a whole lot to sort of piece together. And again, back in the day before the whole app thing, I was really good at giving relationship advice. I don't understand how it all goes now. So tell me what you think about this. Live@jbonair.com. Live@jbonair.com. It's like a mystery to me, and I'm fascinated to see how this plays out, because, like I said, I don't get the whole technology thing. Like, there's one thing to play hard to get, but then what's the point of, matching with somebody and then not saying anything? My understanding, and this is based on what I experienced on Facebook, and remember, I'm not much of a social media person because I did write the book called Put Down Your Damn Phone already. Also understanding that you don't need to use a phone to be on social media, but nevertheless, I group them together. I don't spend much time on Facebook, but I do know that there are people who message very quickly, ask if you're single, and I didn't realize that Facebook was becoming a dating app. But then somebody had told me that it is. There's a dating feature on Facebook now. But what I mean is, I thought that people were moving relationships and getting to know each other along very, very quickly now because of this whole thing. Like, it's not uncommon, from what I understand, for people to meet, and I'm putting that in quotation marks, meet on Facebook, and then, suddenly it's a committed relationship after 2 days of messaging back and forth. I'm not part of that group of people, but that was what I thought that social media was doing, was that it was like fast tracking relationships. Well, this seems to be the opposite, where you've now got each other as a contact in more than one platform, and by that I mean Facebook on social media, an app on your phone, and now in the workplace, in your actual office. So I don't know, is it less intimidating to message somebody that you know as opposed to having a face-to-face conversation? Have we become that kind of a society? Because back in the day, it used to be, remember, people would do a blind date, and a lot of times you didn't even know what the person looked like or anything. You were going off of a description. So back in the day, it seems like people were more trusting and more open to just going and saying hi to somebody. Dare I say people had bigger balls then? Is that the way of putting it? I don't know. But anyway, tell me what you think about this, because I don't know what sort of relationship advice to give to her on this one. Live at jbonair.com. Live at jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Okay, so I am not a big sweets fan, chocolate, candy, anything like that. But if it is sitting in front of me, I will have it. Okay? So I don't have my cupboards like full of junk food because I'm craving it and I'm going to eat something every day. If you put a bowl of like Skittles in front of me or M&Ms or something like that, well, I'll nibble on them just because they're there. Like it's sort of like when you have a glass of wine and you're drinking socially. Well, you just keep sipping it because it's there and you're having it, and then you have another one and then another one. So we have some, I guess they decided to give me the leftover Valentine's chocolate. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. No, so what my point is, and I've already destroyed the packaging, so I can't even take a picture and show you, but it was from a dollar store, and it looked nice, right? You've got the red sort of paper, cardboard kind of cover, and then the plastic, see-through, so I can see that there are 7 little heart-shaped chocolates in it. Like little foiled kind of chocolate thing like you'd get at Christmas, or those little Easter egg things too, right? And 7 pieces of chocolate, they're shaped like a heart. So I pulled a package out of the cardboard sleeve kind of thing that it's in, and then you've got the plastic. Well, now there's like the plastic window, and then it wraps around the bottom that's holding in the 7 pieces of chocolates that are shaped like hearts, shaped like a heart, right? So the 7 pieces of chocolate, the heart-shaped chocolates are formed in the shape of a heart. Like, do you get what I'm saying? The layout of the 7, they're making a heart. Does that make sense? So I guess there's that extra protection plastic there to keep them in place and not move them around. What my point is that for dollar store chocolates, the amount of packaging that you have to just to get, I was ready to go and say, forget it, I don't even want these things. I don't want the chocolates that badly. I can't figure out how to open this thing. So it's not, right? Do you remember back, Ellen, I think, talked about this on one of her comedy DVDs before. That's how old I am, comedy DVDs. Where, a light bulb, which is very, very delicate, has the thinnest packaging ever. But then, like a CD or anything like that, you just couldn't break into it for the hell of it. I mean, just for all of the, you couldn't. And so I look at, there's 7 little chocolates, but the amount, and, the waste aside, right? You're talking about, recycling or plastic things that are going to be thrown in the garbage. Like, just for 7, put them in like a little netting sack. Do you know what I'm talking about? I think that's those Easter egg things that used to come in that little yellow, like, it looked like a balloon drop netting. Do you know what I'm talking about? Put them in that. It's from a dollar store. Throw that at me. We're good to go. I don't know. It was frustrating. And so now I'm pissed off at the person. If I got that for Valentine's Day, I am pissed off at the person who gave that to me because I couldn't get into it. And it was from a dollar store, nonetheless. I remember I'm the best-selling cheapskate author, so I do appreciate it. And honestly, I remember, now that I've been telling the story, we actually did go the day after Valentine's Day to get them, so... There we go. I had to. All right. Tell me your thoughts. I don't know. Thoughts on anything that I just said. Live at jbonair.com. Live at jbonair.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
JB here, back on the Scribble. Admittedly, I thought those stories that I have already talked about would fill up the 30 minutes, and we've actually got 10. I've never been off by that much before. Let's go back to coronavirus chatter, shall we? I was out walking with my mom and my dogs the other day. She came by because the weather was nice, and then naturally the next day we had a snowstorm here in Winnipeg, but... we're talking about the closures and everything. My mom is a teacher. She has been for about 30 so years. She's been at the same elementary school from when I was there, and I don't know if she was there when my brothers were there. I'm the youngest. Yeah, she would have been there when my middle brother was there as well. So she was planning to retire at the end of this school year, and apparently, I don't know this, but you can basically give 2 weeks notice. So it's almost like you're quitting. When it comes to retiring, you can just give 2 weeks notice and be like, all right, I'm out, I'm gone. So first I want to check into that. I don't want to say that I'm spreading fake news. But anyway, so she was planning to retire at the end of the school year, and she was saying that, with school coming, or supposedly coming back after spring break, okay, at least we're going to get another 2 weeks off, right? Because initially the schools were going to be shut down for 3 weeks where we are. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, hey, the rest of the school year is done. So she was basically, I don't want to say forced into retirement, but she kind of sashayed into early retirement, and first of all, she's still getting paid for the rest of the school year, and she just never has to go back, basically. So, gee, that's a sweet deal, isn't it? And yeah, she didn't have to sacrifice having the the salary or whatever it is for the rest of the school year, and then just have to bank on retirement pay. She's so technically she's just going to retire at the end of the school year, whatever it is, and then she's done with it. So there you go. Now, my parents also don't do food delivery. They might do like pizza delivery every once in a while, but they don't do the apps, right? The Uber Eats, the DoorDash, the Skip the Dishes apps. They don't do things like that. And I don't think they will anytime soon. So my mom was saying that she's like extra paranoid now having somebody deliver food. And so I get that, and that's why a lot of these restaurants or apps are doing contactless delivery, right? They'll basically leave your food on the ground and you can go out and get it. That's right, I'm going to go put it in the mud, I'll come out there and get it. I'd rather eat the mud than, die of your corona. But I said, really that's no different than somebody being disgruntled in a restaurant, right? You've all seen those pictures of videos of people, spitting on food or anything like that. Now, granted, yes, the spit wouldn't necessarily kill you then, but it ups the stakes. But I guess that's sort of the question is, are you now more on edge to have somebody deliver your food? Because, again, it's packaged up nicely. It's... Really, that could happen with anything, anytime, right? I mean, we just saw on TMZ the other day, a delivery guy pissing in someone's yard or spitting on their whatever. I mean, that's gross anytime, really. It doesn't take the corona or the COVID. I mentioned that at the top of the show, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Does it put you on edge now? Are you less likely to have food delivered? It's sort of one of those things where, you can go out to the grocery store and buy the food. And again, we've seen those people licking produce or whatever it is. you run that risk as well if you're going to go. I mean, it's the same thing with the packaged foods, right? Somebody could have had it on their hands and, just sneezed on their hands and put it on the box of Cheerios that you're buying, and you're bringing it home and you're touching it. I mean, that's sort of where do we draw the line of ridiculousness or over caution? Is that a word? Over preparedness, I just don't know. I realize, and I said at the top, this is something serious, obviously, right? I mean, I'm not downplaying it, but I guess we get to that point where, are we too cautious? One other thing, I don't necessarily talk about my mom or my parents, my family, really, on the show very much, but she was telling me that, okay, we wipe down the steering wheel in the car. All right, sure. We have wipes for the doorknob then when we get home, and I just thought, you are the only two that live at the house, first off, so I'm not quite sure if is that really necessary? Like, who else is touching your doorknob? And if you just, did a wipe of your hands and the steering wheel, like, how dirty did you get? How infected, how contaminated did you get going from the driveway to the house? Like, I don't know. To me, I feel that that's being overly cautious. That's just me. I think I even said on this show when the whole thing started playing out that I'm not really changing anything that I do. I've said throughout this episode, I'm a homebody in general. Like I said, I just went, for a walk with my mom and the dogs the other day. So I'm being cautious, but I'm certainly not changing my routine. I'm not normally a dirty person anyway. I mean, I don't neurotically wash my hands. But, if I'm working out in the yard and things like that, I mean, I wash them anyway, just because that's what you do. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't know. This is another question that I really want to ask, and I'll wrap up, or I've still got 4 minutes, but I'll wrap up this topic anyway, is, are you sick of hearing about it? Are you sick of people talking about it? This is where we sort of run that risk of, you can get mad at people for not staying inside or whatever, but if people don't tune into the news and just sort of stay in their own bubble, I mean, you can't blame them for not being up to date with all of the, latest warnings and restrictions and things like that. So, I don't know. I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm sick of talking about it. But you also still have that responsibility of staying in the loop, though. Do you know what I'm saying? But how can you force people to watch the news? How can you force people to, again, whether that's, watch the news, read the newspaper, I always am hesitant to say, go to Facebook to read the latest, because we know how social media is and things like that, right? So what is the solution? Is it to watch the news when I first wake up in the morning and then that's it? Just watch the 6 o'clock news or whatever time, your evening news is on at the end of the day, maybe, just to get the updated information. I mean, things are changing so rapidly. I mean, this is my industry. News is my industry. I've been a newspaper columnist for 15 years. I mean, I host an entertainment radio show, so it's not exactly news there, but obviously this virus has seeped into the entertainment world and show business, so I am reporting on that side of things. But, what's the secret? Is it just to, tune in at night? Because, quite honestly, we can have the TV on in the office here, and we'll have Prime Minister Trudeau come out, do his 30 minutes with the reporters, and then after that, you've got the health minister or the chief medical whoever come out, and then you go to every province in Canada, and then in the afternoon, the Trump press conference happens. So you theoretically could spend 4 or 5 hours every day watching this and getting updates. Now, I said, this is my industry, so I'm a columnist, so I can report on how the PM answered or how the president answered or whatever. That's my job. But even I'm kind of sick of this. I said this when the whole election with Trump happened. I mean, you can... How do these cable news hosts not get sick of talking about Trump every day? I don't know. Yes, it's your job, but every day your job is to bitch about the president and criticize him. Doesn't that get old? I mean, we're 3 years into that already. Coronavirus, we're not even really 3 months into this whole, 24/7 coverage of it. So, anyway, tell me your thoughts. That's what that whole rant was about. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. And if you can't get enough of the Twitter, here's some information for you.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
JB here at the controls. So I always love hearing from you. If you agree with me, disagree with me, if you name call and are petty and just a gross person, I don't normally like hearing from you, but I do laugh at your immaturity. So you can email me live at jbonair.com, live at jbonair.com. Again, this is 30 minutes of time wasting fun. Don't take it too seriously, unless I do take a serious tone with you, because I'm a ball buster like that. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in and subscribing. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat